The 5 times Dr. Doom saved the universe by doing horrible things. What if the only person capable of saving all of existence was the one person nobody would ever trust? Across the cosmic tapestry of Marvel Comics, there are moments of absolute, universe-ending crisis where every hero has failed. The Avengers have fallen. The Fantastic Four are beaten. The cosmic entities who are supposed to maintain balance, broken. And in that void, when all hope is lost, one figure steps out of the shadows. Clad in iron and green, Victor Von Doom. He's Marvel's archetypal villain. A tyrant, a megalomaniac, a man whose ego is so vast it could be measured in light years. His entire life has been a crusade to prove his intellectual and spiritual superiority over everyone else, especially his hated rival, Reed Richards. He is a monster, a man who once sacrificed his childhood love to demons for greater magical power. He's a man who believes in order, peace, and prosperity, but only if he's the one to enforce it, ruling over all with an iron fist. His philosophy is simple and terrifying. The ends always justify the means. Yet that very philosophy, that unbending will and absolute refusal to fail has, on more than one occasion, placed him in the paradoxical role of savior. But Doom doesn't save the world with selfless acts of heroism. He saves it by committing atrocities. He saves it by becoming a dictator, by stealing the power of gods, by performing dark magic that violates the very soul, and by sacrificing others without a moment's hesitation. His brand of heroism is indistinguishable from his villainy. Today, we are breaking down the 5 most significant times Dr. Doom committed unspeakable and horrible acts to save the entire universe. These aren't stories of a villain seeing the error of his ways. These are stories of a villain proving his worldview correct, that sometimes the only way to save everything is to become the ultimate monster. And in doing so, he forces us to ask an uncomfortable question. Is a universe saved by a tyrant truly saved at all? Section 1. God Emperor Doom and the Death of a Multiverse. To understand the single greatest and most horrifying act of salvation Dr. Doom ever committed, we have to start at the end of everything. Not just the end of the world, but the end of all worlds. This was the era of the incursions, a multiversal cancer where parallel Earths would collide, destroying both of their respective universes. The heroes of the Marvel Universe, the Illuminati, tried to stop it. They compromised their morals. They built weapons of mass destruction. They destroyed entire worlds to save their own. And in the end, they failed. Every plan, every sacrifice was for nothing. The final incursion was coming. The entire multiverse was going to die. And it did. But as all of creation was crumbling into nothingness, Doom was embarking on the most audacious plan ever conceived. He'd always seen the heroes scramble to stop the incursions as the flailing of lesser minds. They were trying to plug a leak in a dam that was already collapsing. Doom's plan was different. He wouldn't just stop the destruction. He would confront its architects, the Beyonders. These were beings of such immense power, they existed outside the multiverse itself, had killed the living tribunal, and were systematically wiping out reality. Doom, allied with Doctor Strange and the Molecule Man, didn't try to reason with them. He set a trap. Using Molecule Man as a multiversal conduit, Doom created a bomb capable of killing gods. They lured the Beyonders in, and in a single cataclysmic moment, Doom did what all the heroes of the multiverse could not. He killed them. But here's where salvation becomes an atrocity. In killing the Beyonders, their power had to go somewhere. Doom, in his infinite arrogance, took it for himself. He became a god, but he didn't stop the final incursion. He let the Marvel Universe, the Ultimate Universe, and every other reality burn. He let them all die, saving only a handful of survivors on a life raft built by Reed Richards. From the ashes of these dead realities, Doom performed his greatest and most terrible act. He stitched together a new world from the remnants, a patchwork planet he called Battleworld. And over it all, he reigned as God Emperor Doom. He wasn't just a ruler. He was the creator, the law, and the savior. For everyone living there, he had erased their memories of what came before. They only knew a world where Doom was God and had always been God. His word was law, enforced by a legion of Thors from across the dead multiverse, his personal police force. This was his salvation. He prevented the total annihilation of all existence by creating a new one from its corpse. Billions of lives were preserved on Battleworld, living under his absolute rule. But it was a salvation born of ultimate tyranny. He stole Reed Richards' family, making Sue Storm his queen and Franklin and Valeria his children, with no memory of their real father. He made the Human Torch Battleworld's son, a perpetually burning prison for daring to speak out. For 8 long years, he ruled this world with an iron fist. He brought order. He brought stability. He brought peace. He had saved existence by destroying it and remaking it in his own image. This wasn't a selfless act. It was the ultimate expression of his ego. He proved that he, and only he, could solve the problem that had stumped the multiverse's greatest minds. The cost was simply free will, memory, and truth itself. He became a god to save his subjects, but he was a jealous and wrathful god. This is the core of Doom's his philosophy made manifest. He is willing to do the monstrous things others, and because he genuinely believes he is the only one strong enough to bear that burden. Section 2. The Theft of a God's Power. Long before he became a literal god, Dr. Doom had a dress rehearsal. This early, defining moment shows that his methodology has always been the same. See a world-ending threat not as a crisis to be averted, but as an opportunity to be seized. The threat was Galactus, the devourer of worlds, and his arrival on Earth was an extinction-level event the Fantastic Four were completely unprepared for. When Galactus and his herald, the Silver Surfer, first arrived, the heroes of Earth panicked. Here was a being who eats planets for breakfast. You can't punch him, you can't reason with him, and you certainly can't threaten him. The Fantastic Four were scrambling for a solution, anything to stop the unstoppable. And then Dr. Doom made his move. He didn't call the Fantastic Four to offer aid. He saw Galactus not as a threat to his planet, but as a source of ultimate power, free for the taking. His goal was never to save the world. It was to enslave a god. Doom's plan was a masterwork of ruthless ambition. He captured the Silver Surfer, and in a shocking display of scientific and mystical prowess, he straight up stole the Power Cosmic. Now wielding a fraction of Galactus's own might, Doom was one of the most powerful beings on the planet. But that was just step 1. With the Power Cosmic coursing through him, Doom confronted Galactus not as a hero, but as a rival. The conflict was less a battle to save Earth, and more a cosmic power struggle. In a classic story, Doom actually manages to outmaneuver the Devourer of Worlds and begins to siphon his immense energies. Let's be clear about the horrible thing here. Doom's every action was motivated by pure selfishness. He saw his world on the brink of annihilation and thought only of how he could profit. He was perfectly willing to let Galactus consume the Earth if it meant he could have that power for himself. The salvation of humanity was at best a secondary concern, a potential byproduct of his real ambition. And yet, the world was saved. By successfully neutralizing Galactus, Doom inadvertently saved the planet. The immediate threat was gone. But what did Doom do with this power? He didn't usher in an era of peace. He turned the Devourer of Worlds into a personal power source for his own nation, Latveria, seeking to make it the most powerful country on Earth under his rule. This event sets the template for all of Doom's future heroics. He saves the day not through altruism, but through a cosmic-level display of greed and ego. Does the motive matter if the result is survival? For the billions of people spared from becoming Galactus's lunch, probably not. But it reveals a terrifying truth about Victor Von Doom. He is so confident in his own superiority that he views even the most dire universal threats as nothing more than stepping stones on his path to ultimate power. Section 3. A dark spell to invert the soul. There are threats you can fight with fists, and then there are threats that attack the very soul of the world. Such was the case with the Red Onslaught. In the storyline known as AXIS, the arch-villain Red Skull managed to steal the brain of the deceased Charles Xavier, merge it with his own consciousness, and then fuse that with the psychic might of Onslaught. The result was a telepathic plague of pure hatred, broadcast across the globe, turning allies against each other and pushing the world toward self-destruction. The Avengers and the X-Men united to fight him, but they were failing. Red Onslaught's psychic hatred was too powerful. The situation was desperate. A conventional victory was impossible. This is where a truly bizarre alliance of heroes and villains comes in, with Dr. Doom and the Scarlet Witch as key figures. Their plan wasn't one of heroic sacrifice. It was an act of profound and terrifying magic. Their idea was to cast an inversion spell, a dangerous piece of sorcery that would literally flip a person's moral compass. They would use it on the Red Onslaught, turning him from evil to good. And the horrible thing this time, it's the spell itself. This wasn't mind control. It was a fundamental rewriting of a person's being. The morality of forcibly changing someone's soul, even a monster's, is deeply questionable. It's a violation of the highest order. And worse, with Doctor Strange out of the fight, the spell was dangerously unstable, relying on the volatile magic of Scarlet Witch and the dark sorcery of Dr. Doom. Together, they unleashed the spell, and it worked. Sort of. The Red Onslaught was defeated, and the wave of hatred was silenced. The world was saved. But the spell didn't just affect the Red Skull. It washed over the island of Genosha, where the battle was, and inverted the morality of everyone there. Heroes who were paragons of virtue, suddenly villains. The Avengers became fascists. The X-Men became militant conquerors. And the villains, including Doom himself, found themselves driven by heroic impulses. Doom's role in this was, as always, self-serving. He participated not to save the world, but because the Red Onslaught was a rival for power. He helped save the world by tampering with the very essence of good and evil, plunging the planet into a new kind of chaos just to stop the first. Even as a hero, his ego was immense. He formed his own astonishing Avengers because, of course, he believed he was the only one who could fix the mess he helped make. Ultimately, the inversion was reversed by another spell, which Doom was again instrumental in casting. But the lesson was clear. To defeat a monster of pure hate, Doom resorted to a magic that broke the rules of reality and identity. He didn't just defeat the villain. He temporarily shattered the very concepts of heroism and villainy for everyone involved. All right, we're at the halfway point in our dive into Dr. Doom's twisted brand of heroism. From becoming a tyrannical god to weaponizing a world eater, his methods are as monstrous as they are effective. But the next two examples bring his motivations into an even more personal and chilling light. Before we tackle those, if you're digging this breakdown of complex comic book morality, now is the perfect time to support the channel. Hit that subscribe button, ring the bell so you don't miss our next video. And if you have your own thoughts on whether Doom is a hero or villain, drop them in the comments below. We read all of them, and your comments and likes really do help us keep making videos just like this. Now, let's get back to the iron-fisted savior of Marvel, where things get even more complicated. Section 4. A sacrifice of pure ego. Not all of Doom's universe-saving moments are multiversal. Some are intensely personal, and in many ways, even more revealing. This brings us to Jonathan Hickman's legendary Fantastic Four run, and Doom's relationship with Valeria Richards, the daughter of Reed and Sue, and his goddaughter. Their relationship is one of the most fascinating in comics. He delivered her when Sue was having a difficult birth, a feat Reed himself couldn't accomplish. In exchange, Doom named her Valeria, after his own lost childhood love. He sees her as an intellect worthy of his respect, a potential heir to his brilliance, and someone under his personal protection. She, in turn, calls him Uncle Doom, and is one of the few people who can speak to him without fear. This strange bond was tested by the arrival of the Mad Celestial's deranged, alternate reality versions whose only goal was to annihilate the Marvel Universe. One of their first acts was to effortlessly destroy a council of thousands of Reed Richards from across the multiverse. As they bore down on Earth, the heroes were outmatched. The only hope was for the brilliant children of the Future Foundation, including Valeria and her brother Franklin, to escape. But they needed time. Someone had to stand against the Mad Celestials, knowing it was a suicidal act. That someone was Dr. Doom. In a moment that looks almost purely heroic, Doom chose to stay behind. He faced down 4 of these omnipotent beings alone, creating a diversion so Valeria and the others could escape. He knew he was going to his death. This was a sacrifice that saved the future of the Marvel Universe. So what's the horrible part of this heroic sacrifice? It's the why. It's the horrifying truth behind the act. Doom didn't do this out of simple, selfless love. He did it out of supreme, unadulterated ego. His sacrifice wasn't an act of humility, but the ultimate act of pride. As he stood before these cosmic giants, he was making a statement. His last stand was a declaration that he, Dr. Doom, is the only one worthy of such a glorious end. He was proving that even in the face of gods, Doom does not bow. He tells the Mad Celestials, Doom is no man's second choice. His sacrifice was steeped in his own darkness. It came from his possessive, almost proprietary view of Valeria. He saw her as an extension of his own legacy, an intellect he helped nurture, and he would not allow these cosmic vandals to destroy something he valued so highly. He wasn't saving a girl. He was protecting his investment. He wasn't giving his life for the greater good. He was proving that his will was so absolute that he would defy literal gods to the very end. The result was the salvation of the Future Foundation. But the act itself was monstrous in its motivation, the ultimate narcissistic gesture. He saved the future through a heroic sacrifice, but it was a sacrifice fueled by the exact same arrogance that makes him a villain in the first place. Section 5. The pest control of a god. Our final stop takes us back to Battleworld, the planet ruled by the iron will of God Emperor Doom. For 8 years, he had maintained a fragile, tyrannical peace. But his perfect world was about to be invaded by a life raft, carrying the last survivors of the old Marvel Universe, including heroes who remembered a world before Doom was God, and one particularly troublesome villain, Thanos the Mad Titan. Thanos has always been one of Marvel's ultimate threats. His nihilistic ambition and obsession with death make him a walking, talking universal time bomb. When he arrived on Battleworld, he saw Doom not as a god, but as a pretender on a stolen throne. Gathering an army, Thanos marched on Doom's citadel, Doomguard. He confronted God Emperor Doom with utter contempt, calling him a weak god and a pretender. He demanded that Doom kneel before him. The horrible thing that happened next wasn't a grand battle. It wasn't an epic struggle. It was an execution. It was pest control. God Emperor Doom listened to Thanos' tirade with cold indifference. He asked the Mad Titan a simple question. Did he have an infinity gauntlet? Thanos replied that he did not, believing he didn't need one to deal with the pretender. In that moment, Doom demonstrated the chasm of power between them. With a silent, casual gesture, he reached out and with his absolute control over reality, tore Thanos' entire skeleton from his body in a single gruesome motion. The Mad Titan, the being who once wiped out half of all life, was reduced to a pile of dust and a bloody spine in an instant. The act was so swift and brutal that it silenced all opposition. It was a terrifying message to everyone on Battleworld. Doom is not to be questioned. So, how is that an act of salvation? By killing Thanos, Doom eliminated one of the most dangerous threats the Marvel Universe has ever known. Had he been allowed to continue, Thanos would have plunged the fragile New World into a devastating war, potentially unraveling Doom's entire creation. By killing him so horrifically, Doom cauterized a wound before it could become infected. But let's be real. This act wasn't about protecting his people. It wasn't about justice. It was a god swatting a fly. The sheer brutality and effortlessness of it were what made it so horrible. It was a display of absolute power used absolutely. Doom didn't kill Thanos to save the universe. He killed him because Thanos was an imperfection, a noisy insect that dared to challenge his authority. This save was a byproduct of a tyrant consolidating his power, making his universe safer through an act of monstrous casual violence. Conclusion: 5 threats, 5 apocalypses averted, 5 acts of monstrous evil. From rewriting reality as a tyrannical god to brutally executing a cosmic threat, the story of Dr. Doom as a savior is written in blood and fire. We've seen him stop the end of the multiverse by becoming its absolute dictator. We've seen him neutralize a world eater, not to save Earth, but to turn a god into a battery for his kingdom. We've seen him use dark magic to violate the very souls of heroes and villains to stop a wave of psychic hatred. We've witnessed him make the ultimate sacrifice, not out of love, but out of a supreme and unyielding ego. And we've watched him perform cosmic pest control, saving his world from chaos by committing an act of instantaneous, horrifying murder. Each of these moments reinforces a central, terrifying truth about Victor Von Doom. The thing is, Doom genuinely believes he's the hero in all of this. In his mind, his horrific actions aren't villainy, but necessary burdens that lesser beings, like Reed Richards, are too weak-willed to shoulder. His philosophy is terrifyingly consistent. Order is everything, and real order can only be forged by someone strong enough to do what is necessary, no matter the moral price. He will save the world, but he will only save it on his terms, and you will be forced to live in the world he creates for you. This forces us to look past the simple black and white of hero versus villain. Was Doom right? Did the ends justify the means when the end was the continuation of all existence? If the only choice is between total annihilation and a life under the boot of a tyrant, is that truly a choice at all? Dr. Doom is a monster. He is a man who would burn a galaxy to prove a point, sacrifice his own soul for more power, and enslave all of creation and call it salvation. And yet, time and again, when the heroes have failed and all hope is lost, it's that monstrous nature, his unbreakable will, his staggering intellect, and his absolute refusal to accept defeat that has stood between the Marvel Universe and total annihilation. He is the villain who wins, the tyrant who saves, and the god who wears an iron mask. Ultimately, Dr. Doom is a paradox, a living testament to the idea that sometimes the only thing worse than a villain is the hero you're forced to accept.